Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another vlog. Like I normally do in these videos, I have a quick little unboxing. There are a couple more items that were sent to me by Jonathan that I want to show you all, as well as some other titles that I picked up myself on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. I also want to share few thoughts on a couple trailers, nothing really that crazy. In fact, there haven't been really a lot of new major trailers that have come out anyway. So I just have a couple ones that I want to share some thoughts on. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of an overview of the letter that Jonathan sent to me in the mail as well. So we will get started with the items that Jonathan sent to me. Uh, he sent me a bunch of Dune films. So we have the Sci-Fi Channel original movie Dune. I only had this on DVD, so this is really cool to have this on Blu-ray. The DVD also is one of those where it's such an old DVD that the aspect ratio is not really the best, and also it had like issues playing on more modern players because of the fact that the menu used some kind of old uh, system or setup or something or program to create the menu graphics. So a lot of the newer players just struggle playing it. So that's another reason why I'm really glad to have it. And then we have Children of Dune, which I don't even think I had at all. I might have had it on DVD, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. This is the sequel that was also a miniseries on Sci-Fi Channel. And then he also sent me Jodorowsky's Dune. I've heard a lot of good things about this documentary. I've always been curious about Jodorowsky's Dune ever since I first read about it in a book called The Greatest Sci-Fi Movies Never Made by David Hughes, which if that kind of stuff interests you in any way in terms of behind the scenes stuff, discussions about films that were never made, I highly recommend that book. Track it down, pick it up, give it a read. It is 100% worth your time. So, looking forward to checking this out in HD because I've heard it's got some really cool artwork and stuff like that. Then he sent me some other stuff. We have Ebola Syndrome in 4K. This is a fairly recent release from Vinegar Syndrome. I've heard some interesting things about this one, so really curious to check that one out. Alongside this movie, The Untold Story. This is the Unearthed Films release. Um, Another one that sounded like it might be interesting and might have some good gore. So this is I think MVD also did some work on this. So it's Unearthed and MVD. And then he sent me this, the 4K box set of Phenomena, Dario Argento's Phenomena from Synapse. This is the limited edition box set. So this has the film, which has a new remaster and everything. It's got multiple discs with multiple cuts of the film and these collector's cards. One of my favorite Argento films, so it's really cool to have this. I had it on Blu-ray through Arrow Video, but I've heard good things about this transfer in 4K, so this is really, really cool, and it's just so awesome, and just so humbling, the fact that he's so generous, and it's just one of those things where I'm at a loss for words most of the time. So a huge shout out goes to Jonathan for sending me these gifts, as well as to all of you who have just left some kind words, or anyone else who sent me anything in the past, any of you who have done paid requests. Speaking of that, I am going to get around to Nightmare on the 13th Floor. That's going to be coming up within the next couple days. So I definitely haven't forgotten about that. So those are the gifts by Jonathan that were sent to me. Then the rest of these are just ones that I picked up myself through various different places. I got some of these from Hamilton Book. And speaking of that, I have to grab something real quick. Good thing I remembered, because there's a couple more Blu-rays here that I got from Hamilton that I would have forgot about otherwise. And it gives me the opportunity to grab this, which is not a movie, but it is movie related. This was on sale on Amazon for a little bit, and so I decided to finally pick it up. This is Back to the Future, the Ultimate Visual History. This is the revised and expanded edition, so it has like the extra bit that has like the musical and other stuff. This is a book that chronicles the films and all the other stuff, and has like cool little collector stuff. I mean, it's similar in that vein to the Die Hard and Ghostbusters books by the same company, which I also have. Very detailed, just a lot of behind the scenes photos and pictures and interviews and behind the scenes stuff, and it's just the kind of thing that is an absolute treasure for a fan of a series of films like Back to the Future, which honestly is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. And I really need to do new reviews of those, because when I tried to do Back to the Future videos, it was around the same time that I had my car accident when I got hit by a car. Why I have this scar on my nose, why there's a lot of things that are a little different in terms of my appearance, and it's one of those things that I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to review Back to the Future movies, because I was just kind of not in the mood. So I just did a lot of like audio reviews, which really is not, which really wasn't that great, and it was something I just did to keep my mind off of things, because I was dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of pain and a lot of other shit. So I definitely do want to revisit those and revisit them in 4K, because the transfers on the new 4K releases are really good. These three I got from Hamilton. This is a double feature of Encounter with the Unknown and Where Time Began. The only reason why I got this is because this is not necessarily the easiest to find. This is a Saturn Productions release. I don't even know if this company is even around anymore. And one of these is a horror anthology. I've heard it's not very good, but it's a horror anthology, and I'm always curious about seeing those. And this is a Kino Lorber release. This is a thriller called Absolution with Richard Burton. And then I got this drama that stars Goldie Hawn. I think she also produced it. Crisscross. The next titles are all TV shows, and I got these recently from a local Facebook marketplace seller. This is something that I completely was not expecting, and it was a very pleasant surprise. As a collector, there are certain titles that are so hard to find and so uncommon that you ultimately just give up. You give up looking for them. You give up even trying, and you just accept the fate that you're just not going to be able to find it. Like, you're not going to run into it. It's not meant to be. And these season sets for this particular show wound up being one of those things for me. I wanted to check the show out. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it in the best quality possible. I didn't want to see it on pirated rips that were online. And anytime I would try to find the show, I would either have no luck, or the one time I would see something in the wild, it would be too expensive, it would be ridiculously overpriced, or it'd be missing a disc, or the discs would be scratched. It was just one of those things where it was like, all right, I guess I'm never gonna find this show. And then out of the blue, a couple days ago, I was just scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, saw a local seller. The price was incredibly reasonable, and I was like, wow, okay, now I could finally add this show to my collection, or at least most of it, and I could finally see this series. And the show I'm talking about is Moonlighting. I know it's kind of crazy, right? That you would think that this is a show that would be one of those like holy grails, sought after TV shows, because you would think it would be readily available because it won so many awards. It was so revolutionary for television. It was a big popular show at the time. But no, it is not a show that's easy to find. Uh, I got the first 4 seasons from this seller for $5 each, which is a steal, because the later seasons, season 3 and 4, go for like triple, if not quadruple that price online. If not even more than that. That was season 4. This is season 3. So it's only seasons 1 through 4, but that's better than I've ever had any luck in the past. Like, the only ever times I saw anything was season 1 and 2, and that was when the price was too expensive, or a disc was missing, or the discs were scratched. So I never really had any luck until very recently. So it's one of those things where sometimes patience really, really does pay off. It might take years as a collector until you run into a good deal and you find a show, or you find a rare out of print title that you've been looking for a legitimately affordable price compared to what you see online. And then on top of that, I also picked up this show, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. I like Bruce Campbell. Heard some good things about this one. Looked like it might be fun. I like Jack of all trades, so I thought, why not? Especially for that price. And yeah, it's one of those things where it honestly made my month in a lot of ways, because I've been trying to find Moonlighting for years, because I'm a big fan of Bruce Willis. I know it's the series that put him on the map, and I heard all these good things about it, and it sounded like my kind of show because it's very creative, very imaginative, very different when it comes to the norm, when it comes to these kind of shows. It's very risky. I mean, there's stop motion animation in some episodes. They did an episode that was entirely an iambic parameter, or pentameter. I think that's what it's called, which is a form of speech or writing that was used in Shakespeare. So they did a whole Shakespeare adaptation in Shakespearean form that cost $7 million at the time. They did musical numbers. They just went out and did crazy stuff. They broke the fourth wall. They had meta references. It's definitely a show that was way ahead of its time. And it's insane to me that it's so hard to find, considering it was such a well-liked show at the time. It got so many good accolades and reviews, and it got good ratings, and it's incredibly hard to find. And on top of that, it's not streaming. It's a show that was this popular in its time, in its heyday, and it's not even streaming anywhere. Like, even in today's day and age, a show like Moonlighting, you can't fucking see it legally unless you pay out the ass to get the DVDs. And who is really going to do that nowadays? So a lot of people are checking out this show for the first time on Daily Motion or in clips on YouTube. And I guess the reason for it is rights issues, as usual. The show used a lot of copyrighted material in terms of music, so I guess that's why it's not readily available to stream or whatever. I don't get it. Like, this show seems like a show that some streaming platform should pick up, should remaster and put out, because it really does seem like a show that even younger audiences would get into because of how similar it is to a lot of these other comedies and a lot of these other shows that a lot of people are big fans of. So that's it for the TV show sets. The rest of the stuff here is a mix of 4K and Blu-rays. So here we have Stripes. This is the 4K release of Stripes. This was released as a part of a set by Sony that had a bunch of other movies. I got this from a seller online. It was a good price because I just wanted Stripes because the DVD has issues. Definitely glad to have this for the collection for sure. And it's got some really nice looking stuff in terms of the picture quality. It's definitely a massive upgrade over the DVD or the previous Blu-ray. Then I got this collection because I did not have these films in 4K. These are the kind of films that would benefit from seeing them in this high of definition. This includes all the Blu-ray discs that have the special features. I had like The Last Night in 4K, and I have Bumblebee, but I didn't have the other ones. And this is a really good deal. I got this from a seller online for only like $25, which is a steal for this set, which is got all 5 Transformers films in 4K. Yeah, I know time has not been kind to those films in a lot of different ways, but I would like to revisit them one of these days and check them out again and do reviews. So the best way to do that for me is to do it with the best possible quality. Because I'm just a sucker for 4K. I got to be honest. Like, I have fully transitioned into that format, and I'm a big fan of it. Speaking of 4K, here's another one, Lucy. I actually like this film. Yes, it's dumb. The whole concept about using the 100% of your brain is complete bullshit because you already use 100% of your brain every day. But I still had fun with it. Had some good action, and that's a good transfer. And I didn't even have it on Blu-ray. I only had it on... I think I only had it on DVD. Here we have Do the Right Thing. I've heard a lot of good things about this drama. Like, this is a really great film, a very important film. I just never have seen the movie, and I was able to get a good deal on this online. So I was like, sure, I'll get it for the collection. Another film I also got for the collection is The Incredibles. I legitimately really enjoy this film. This is one of my favorite Pixar movies. So was really happy to get this because I didn't even have it on Blu-ray. I only had the DVD. Then from the same seller, I also got The Revenant, which I had on Blu-ray, but I heard some really good things about this 4K, and I can definitely see why. I tested it out, and there were some shots in the forest where it was so detailed and so clear in terms of the quality. Like, I almost felt like I could just walk right into the forest with Leo. It was like that insane. This one is one that I really was excited to get. Definitely ecstatic to pick this one up, especially for the price I paid for it. Goodfellas. This is the 4K release of Goodfellas. I didn't get this for the longest time because I read one review online that was not very positive when it comes to its opinion of the picture quality. And I just based my opinion on that, which really is something you should not do. As a collector and as a fan of film, you should absolutely 100% always make up your own mind. Look at other reviews, do some extra research. Don't base your judgment based on one other person's opinion. And I should know better, but at the time I was like, what? I was fairly new into 4K, so I just decided to trust the experts. In this instance, I was way off because I looked at other reviews and comments on the Blu-ray.com forum, and they were like, "It isn't even that bad. It's good." And I was like, "Okay, now I want it." But then when I decided to get it, it was out of print. It was going for crazy prices online. So I was like, "Oh man, I missed out." And then I went to my local FYE, and then bam, there it was. And it does have a good transfer. It's not bad at all. So yeah, really happy to get that. Also got a bunch of other 4Ks from the same FYE. Got Creed 2. I know, uh, I know it's. I've heard it's not very good, but I still haven't seen it yet. I'd like to get the first Creed for the collection, even though I'm not that big on the film. Also, speaking of 4K, can somebody release a 4K box set of the Rocky films with new features? Like, I would buy that in a heartbeat. A 4K box set of the first 6 Rocky movies. Come on, Amazon, whoever the hell is owning MGM right now, because I think Amazon just bought MGM. Um, the Rocky Blu-rays are fine. The transfers are decent enough, but they could all use remasters, and in the case of the sequels, they could definitely use more features. Um, that would definitely be a beautiful day for me. And speaking of beautiful days, here is the 4K of A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks. Also got The Great Wall. Yeah, I heard the film isn't that great, but it's pretty cheap. Another one I heard's not that great is Robin Hood. This is the most recent Robin Hood movie. They took a way different approach than the other ones. And just like the other Robin Hood films, not named Prince of Thieves, it didn't do well in the box office. And I also got The Murder on the Orient Express. Or it's just Murder on the Orient Express. Sorry, I murdered the name. Uh, I like Perot. I grew up watching the David Suchet Perot TV show on local public television with my grandmother. So I definitely was curious about this. Kenneth Branagh is also a really good director. And I heard that this is a really good transfer, and I popped it in, and yeah, it is. It is a really good transfer. And another one I got for the collection recently is Elysium, because this film has some good visuals, and it's a film that I only had on Blu-ray, and I got a good deal on the 4K. The film's plot, though, I swear the writer just saw Johnny Mnemonic and ripped it off, because it's very similar. There's a virus. There's this guy who has a cure in his head. I mean, it's the same fucking thing. They just changed a few things around. Here we have Island Claws. Yeah, the giant killer crab movie from 1980. Featuring effects by the same guy who worked on King Kong 1976, Glenn Robinson. This was a Code Red release. This has been out of print for years. There were not very many copies released. And it was up on Hamilton Book for cheap recently. And I was like, sure. I mean, yeah, it's probably an awful piece of shit movie. But for that price, yeah, I'll take a chance on that. And I also took a chance on this one, Trick or Treat, because it was also super cheap. I know that this has a re-release from Scorpion that I think might have a new transfer or some new stuff, but I'm okay with this because the transfer actually isn't that bad at all for an older Code Red Blu-ray. And then I also got Supergirl. on Blu-ray, because if you've followed my channel, if you've seen my review of this movie, I like this film. I'm a fan of it. I only had it on DVD, so really glad to finally have that for the collection. And then I got the number 23 because I'm curious about this one. I've heard very middling things about it, or differing opinions, where there's a lot of people who are very divided on this one. But I'm curious to finally check it out for myself, just to see how Jim Carrey does in a more serious role. And got this Blu-ray of a film called Coming At Ya. This is just the 2D version. This does not have the actual 3D version, which is fine. I don't have the 3D version of the movie. I don't have a 3D TV, so I can't even do anything with it. And then this I got today, actually. I went grocery shopping, and I found this. This is the Argo Extended Edition Blu-ray. Got this because it was brand new. It was only $5, and it was completely unopened. I've heard some good things about this one. Did not have it at all. Maybe on DVD. And it comes with exclusive bonuses, like this art card set, this book that has a little bit more detail about the making of the movie. I'm just a sucker for these kind of things. I think they're pretty cool when companies used to do this, where they would have like Blu-ray sets or DVD sets where they would have like extras and bonuses and stuff like that. I know this has a 4K release, but I'm okay with having the Blu-ray. It doesn't seem like a film that really needs to be seen in 4K. And I mentioned this in the other video, and here it is. This is the Blu-ray of Eternals. I might have shown this already. I think I just mentioned it because it didn't come in the mail yet. Paid way too much for this. Good to have it for the collection, but man, Disney Movie Club charging out the ass for shit just because it has an exclusive slipcover. The slipcover isn't even cool. Like, this is just boring. But hey, you know, it's fitting. It's fitting for a film that apparently is pretty fucking boring, that it has a slipcover and exclusive cover art that's as boring as a movie. So that's Eternals. And then last two are some Vinegar Syndrome releases. A double feature of Hard Rock Zombies, one of my favorite so bad it's good guilty pleasures, and Slaughterhouse Rock, an underrated, fun horror movie. It has a good soundtrack, has music by Devo and Tony Basil. And this has a new transfer, because I had the other standalone release of Slaughterhouse Rock, but this has a new remaster plus the uncut version of the film, which apparently has been pretty hard to get a hold of. And Hard Rock Zombies in the best quality that it's ever been released ever. Because previously, for many, many years, it was only on some like VHS rip from some really low budget DVD company. So, yeah, looking forward to checking out both of those again. Yeah, they're flawed. Yes, they're not great movies, but they're entertaining. Another one that's entertaining is Reform School Girls. Only had this on DVD. And I know there was an overseas Blu-ray, but I'm glad I waited to get it until Vinegar Syndrome came out with their own release. So young, so bad, so what? So that is the bulk and the entirety of the titles that I picked up recently. And now I'm going to share a couple thoughts and a couple trailers. The first one I'm going to talk about is the new extended trailer for Men, the new Alex Garland film. I'm one of the few people that didn't even like Ex Machina, so I don't think he's a guy who has a flawless track record as a filmmaker. And this trailer, other than the visuals, which, yes, it does look like a well-shot film, looks like it has some good cinematography, and maybe, you know, Jesse Buckley, and maybe a couple of the other performers, it doesn't really look like a film to me that is doing anything that unique or anything that different. There are so many films as of late that deal with this whole theme and this subject matter of men being bad and men being the real horror and so on. And I'm just getting sick and fucking tired of these horror films that are either about men are evil, men are the real horror, because they're abusers and they're pieces of shit and they don't like women. Uh, and that's interesting because I really liked Last Night at Soho, which had a little bit of that going on in it. But to me, there was enough of a different spin on things, at least with the time travel stuff and with the way that things were going in terms of the rest of the movie, that I was able to deal with it. But that is something that in retrospect, I think kind of hurt the film a little bit. But here, it just seems like that's all this movie is. It's everywhere this woman looks. Men are leering at her. Men are mansplaining to her. Men are doing all this shit. And I'm just like, I don't fucking care anymore. I get it. It is a problem. And there are some men out there who are assholes to women. But that doesn't mean that all men are like this. And I'm getting tired of seeing this whole wide spread just swath of criticisms that are just thrown entirely at all men in these kind of films. I feel the same way about these movies that are trying to be the next Jordan Peele and be like Get Out and Us, like Master, some of these other movies where it's just racism. Racism is the real horror. Like, can we just get traditional old school horror movies again? Where they were fun and they weren't preachy? Can we do that again? But then again, this is A24, who might as well retitle their entire company to Pretentious Films. A24 Films? No, Pretentious Films. Just be honest about it. Just Pretentious Films. Even if they called themselves Pretentious Films, I guarantee the same people who are always eating up and just completely loving everything that they put out would still love A24. Man, I can't wait for the next Pretentious film production. It could be way better than I am initially thinking. It could be a better film than I'm giving it credit for. I will give it a fair chance, like I have done for a lot of these other movies that have been critically acclaimed in the horror genre. I gave Midsommar a fair chance. I gave Hereditary a fair chance. I didn't care for them, but I still did give them a chance. And I'll do that with Men too, but from the first impressions, it just looks like a film that has nothing going for it other than the same stale, tired tropes at this point of men being evil and men being awful and so on. And even if they do something at the end where it's like, oh, well, it's not actually what you think. She's actually crazy and there's some entity or whatever that's using her preconceived notions of men and twisting it. And even then, I'd just be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care anymore because there's been so many fucking movies that have beaten this into the fucking ground already. It's one of those things where it just isn't new to me anymore. It isn't fresh. It isn't innovative. No matter how many different takes or different approaches you have with it, it just isn't anything that really is that captivating to me. You can have all the nice looking imagery and the editing and the technical merits you want, but if you have a story that just looks like it's just a damaged, battered woman who's haunted by her past is being assaulted and just absolutely treated like shit by all the men that she runs into, that just does not sound like a horror film that interests me in any way or in any capacity. If it interests you, cool. to each their own. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. I hope it is everything you want it to be and then some. But I just don't give a fuck. I don't care about men. So that's my thoughts on men. And then the only other trailer I wanted to talk about is the Pentavarite, which is, if you heard that, I apologize. Things are all right. My mom tends to have like really loud sneezes, so everything's fine. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Pentaverate, which is Mike Myers' latest project. He hasn't done a project. He hasn't done anything major since The Love Guru. Like, he had some bit parts and some stuff. He was in Bohemian Rhapsody. But this is like his first major thing, and it looks like it could be fun. It looks like it has potential. It looks like a very trippy, weird, surreal show. Definitely does have Mike Myers' name and his fingerprints all over it. And the Pentaverate is actually a callback to a line of dialogue from So I Married an Axe Murderer. Because there's a character that mentioned the Pentaverate in the film. So this, I guess, is a spin-off of So I Married an Axe Murderer, which I think is pretty cool. And that's something that I think has potential. The thing is, though, Mike Myers is one of those guys where if he's not given a leash, if he's just let loose and allowed to run wild with his ideas, sometimes things can go really horribly awry, like they did in The Love Guru. So I am approaching this with a lot of trepidation, but I'm still very curious about it. And I really hope that it works out, and I hope that it is everything that Mike wants it to be and then some, and everything that the fans have been waiting for. Because it's been a long, long time since Mike has done something in this capacity. So I'm looking forward to that. Even though it could be a train wreck, I'm still looking forward to it because it's something different. And it's something we haven't seen in a while. You haven't seen Mike Myers doing a comedy and doing his thing in years. But anyway, that's my thoughts on those trailers. The next thing I want to talk about is a letter that Jonathan sent me. Just do an overview like I've done in the past. Answer a couple questions. Mention some other stuff he'll send me for my birthday, which I will definitely do another video about when I get them in the mail. And really appreciate it once again. I just cannot thank you enough for everything. And mentions how good Phenomena looks in 4K. Talks about how Scream 5 is really bad, and mentions that it's similar to Alien 3 and The Last Jedi in terms of how it handles certain popular characters. And yeah, I would say Scream 5 is the Alien 3 of the franchise, because the way that it handled Dewey is something that I don't think that it's going to be able to recover from. And I know they're doing another one, and I don't think it's going to work out. I really don't. I'm really fucking tired of this bullshit where they take beloved characters and they deconstruct them and they turn them into losers who have no lives and bring them down to nothing and then leave them there because they kill them. They get killed off. There's no redemption arc, and it's just fucking infuriating. So then he mentions the Dune collection being complete thanks to the other films that he sent me. Talks some of these other films that he would like to see me review. And I will say this: some of them are definitely on my mind and definitely on a list. The others that you have on here, I will definitely think about them. He mentions the Untold Story, mentions Ebola Syndrome, talks about another sequel to the Christmas Story, but this time around it takes place in the 70s, and Peter Billingsley actually returns to play Ralphie. I guess it's supposed to come out in November. I don't know about that. I mean, I really like the Christmas Story, but I don't really think we need or a Christmas Story. Sorry, but I don't think we need a sequel. We didn't need a sequel anyway, so I'll give it a shot, but I don't know. I don't know. Peter Billingsley, he probably did it because, like, what is he doing? He doesn't have much of a career nowadays, so he's like, sure, how much you paying me? All right, I'll do it. I'll do that movie. Uh, Maybe in November I might do it. It makes more sense to do it in Christmas at Christmas in December, even though the sequel is supposedly coming out in November. Yeah, I did see the trailer for the Black Phone. I liked it. I might see it. I might check it out in the theater. I don't quite know yet. It depends on my schedule. Um and yeah, I am happy the audiences support A Quiet Place. But, A Quiet Place is like one of the few exceptions alongside some of the Conjuring spin-offs or the Conjuring series when it comes to a series of films that's a new trilogy or a new series for the horror genre. Other than that, what's keeping it alive is all these reboots and remakes and sequels. Mentions he wants to know how many stars I would give to a bunch of these other movies that I reviewed recently, or I haven't reviewed on camera yet. I will send you an email, Jonathan, where I will give some star ratings in the next week or so. Uh, yeah, I did feel the scenes of real kangaroos being killed in Wake and Fright was not needed. It was just cheap shock value, like what was in Cannibal Holocaust. I agree with that. Yeah, I did hear about another Lethal Weapon. I mentioned it in the stream I did with Matt, and I think it's unnecessary. It's way too late, and I do hope they do I do hope Warner Brothers does a 4K remaster of the first film for the anniversary. And speaking of the anniversary, I should probably review those movies sometime as well this year. Mentions Batman Returns, talks about my review of the movie, talks about how in Batman the Animated Series, the Penguin in the show looks closer to what he looked like in the movie. Yeah, I did mention that, and I think that's absolutely deliberate. I mean, they even use Jack Napier's name and incorporate some of the other elements in terms of the visuals from the Burton films into the animated series. It is sad that Ivan Reitman died last month. I miss him, and he's done absolutely amazing work. And he's one of the more consistent filmmakers that I can think of when it comes to the comedy genre. Said one of the last things he did before his death was producing Ghostbusters Afterlife. He restored both cuts of Stripes, and he did the 40th anniversary documentary on the 4K, and then he supervised and did the restoration on the Heavy Metal 4K. And I have Stripes, and I'm looking forward to seeing the restoration of Heavy Metal, because really like that film. Talks about Wake and Fright, mentions Enter the Dragon, talks about Maniac. Yeah, it absolutely did look great in 4K. And Carolyn Monroe is a marvelous woman. She was absolutely drop dead gorgeous in her prime, and Joe Spinell was incredibly lucky. Unbelievably lucky. Talks about Home Sweet Home, how much it sucked. I have seen some of Matt's reviews of Batman the Animated Series. I rewatched his review of the Two-Face two-parter recently and left a comment. Talks about all these other episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and I agree with everything that he has to say about all of these episodes. I'm going to share more of my thoughts on these episodes when I review Batman Animated Series for the anniversary this year. I have part 1 of season 1 coming up pretty soon, actually. So if you're a fan of Batman Animated Series like I am, be on the lookout for that. Talks about Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Uh, Talks a little bit about Shaft. Talks about how Evil Ed is superior to Censor. I agree. He asked me how many stars do I honestly give RoboCop 2014, the RoboCop remake. I gave it 2 middle fingers. That's that's really my honest opinion of it. Every time I see that movie, I want to just flip it off. So that's my honest rating of it. I guess if you really, really want me to do a star thing, I can't even think of anything that was really that great about it. So I would just give it no stars, and may God have mercy on its soul. It talks about the Batman. Says it's his favorite film that he's seen this year. I agree. It's his favorite film that it's the favorite uh, film of mine. It's the best movie that I've seen in 2022 so far. But then again, I haven't seen a ton of films. I've only seen Scream 5, and I've seen the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then he talks about sending more gifts for my birthday, and then talks about sending another letter. So once again, big thanks goes to Jonathan for the letter as well as all the gifts. And in terms of what I have coming up next, I actually did watch a slate of random stuff that I would like to record some reviews for. There's a film I watched ages ago, but I haven't sat down and recorded a review for yet. I'll probably do that pretty soon before I forget about pretty much everything. It's a film called Woman in the Window with Amy Adams. It's a thriller that came out sometime last year. I wanted to do a video on it because there were some things I liked about it, and there were some things that I felt that really could have been done a lot better. And overall, it's a movie that didn't really get a lot of good praise. In fact, it got a lot of people slamming it, and I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be, but it's just a film that I think would be interesting to do a bit of a discussion on. And another film that I want to discuss is Brightburn. I finally saw that one. I've been really curious about it ever since it was first announced, ever since the concept was revealed, ever since I saw the trailer. I just never really got around to seeing it until very recently. And it's a movie that I like, but it could have been so much more. And there's a lot that I want to unpack when it comes to that one. I also saw Bloodshot with Vin Diesel. I had some dumb fun with it. It could have been a lot better, but it also could have been a lot worse. I still don't know if I'm going to do an actual review of it because I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. If you really want to see my thoughts on it, feel free to leave a comment. Like, if there's like one person who wants to see a review of Bloodshot, then that's enough. That's enough for me. I also checked out Universal Soldier again. That film is awesome. That's a kick-ass action classic. And I think as the years go by, it just gets more and more underrated, if anything. Especially when it comes to all the praise given to the shitty sequels like Day of Reckoning and Regeneration. Like they're superior films, which I find to be a bunch of fucking bullshit. That's a whole other story. And I did check out a film called Mortal Engines, a Peter Jackson movie based on like a fairly popular series of novels that didn't do well in the box office, and I could kind of see why. It's got its merits. Like, it's got some really good visuals, and I like the concept, and the world is very intriguing. It's got some decent performances, but there's just too much going on, and then there was really not enough of a focus, and they tried to do way too much in one movie. So I might share my thoughts on that. I've also been watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies again. I rewatched the remake. It was a lot better than I remember it being. I still have issues with it, but I would say it's pretty good, pretty decent. And also been watching 80s Twilight Zone again. I started up season 3, the syndicated season, and There was one episode with one of the actors from MASH that I enjoyed, but the rest of the episodes I've seen so far were either forgettable or just not very good. There's one in particular with Mark Singer called Extra Innings, where Mark Singer acts like he's snorted a bump of coke before every take, and it's just a really bad performance, and it really takes me out of the episode. It doesn't help either that it's a very predictable. It's the kind of thing where, oh, he's a baseball player who got hurt and he gets a baseball card and it magically transports him to the 1900s and he's able to play baseball again. And of course, he winds up being stuck in the past because that's best for him, because he can't play baseball anymore, because what is his life without baseball? You know, that kind of thing. It's been there, done that generic story stuff for Twilight Zone. But yeah, it's just what I've been doing lately. And I'll probably check out more of that. I also watched. I don't know if I'm gonna do a review of this or not, but I saw this. I mentioned it on my community tab. How I Got Into College, the last film that Savage Steve Holland directed before he never directed a theatrical film again. But yeah, I did have fun with that one. I liked it. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I would like to check out Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer. Might do that pretty recently, or within the next day or two. So there's just a lot of stuff that I got on my mind. Would like to start watching Moonlighting because it just really does interest me quite a bit. But anyway, I know this video is like over 50 minutes, but sometimes that's what happens with these vlogs. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.